Hey, boys and girls, come on into the art room. Welcome to Art with Miss Thomas. Let's make sure you have all your supplies. If you don't have any of your supplies today, that's okay. You can still do the lesson and then complete the artwork later. Remember, if you don't have these supplies, it's okay, but the supplies we'll be using are pencil, white paper, black marker, like a washable black marker or a Sharpie, if your parents let you use that or if they want to use it. And we need color. We're going to add color to our creations today. So crayons, marker, color pencil, or if your parents are up for it, watercolor paint is great. Remember, you can do the artwork with us in just pencil and white paper, and that can be computer printer paper, or it could be paper from your art journal. Today, we'll be working towards several goals. We're going to be using creative and innovative. That means new ideas to create artwork. We're going to be integrating. That means using the elements of art that we've already learned about in previous lessons. And we need to develop our skills through repeated practice. That means today, we're going to be using skills like drawing lines and shapes and coloring to continue practicing and developing as artists. Last time we met, we talked about the elements of art. Who remembers them? Very good. So they are so important that I have posted them underneath the whiteboard. Let's review them and read them together. Color, space. So at this point in the lesson, I would continue on with the students. We would continue reviewing the elements and talk about how we can use them. I would do a quick introduction to Pablo Picasso. We would probably even have a brain pop video. A little too fast there. We would show examples of his artwork and how it's changed over time. We would talk about realistic versus more abstract artwork. And we would define cubism specifically. I would explain how today will be creative and innovative as we create something new. I'll remind the students that we'll be developing as artists as we use skills we've previously learned. I'll be sure to remind them that becoming an artist takes repeated practice and that artwork can change over time, just like Picasso's artwork did. As we move into the I do portion and then the we do portion of the lesson, I will quickly remind the students that cubism uses lines, shapes, and colors to create something that doesn't look realistic, but has characteristics that will remind them of something realistic. So boys and girls, how many of you have a pet? Who would like a pet? Look at your pet or think about that pet that you would like, or take a peek at the screen and look at these adorable animals. These are real. They're realistic looking. They're not abstract. Now take a look at these animals. You can probably tell what they are. Looks like an elephant on the one side of the screen and a rhinoceros on the other. But these are not photos. This is not realistic. This is more abstract. Look at these animals that Picasso created. Tell me in the chat box, which one looks more realistic? A, B, or C? Yeah, I agree, A. This one is definitely more realistic, and this one we would say is more abstract, right? A is more realistic, and then B and Z are definitely more abstract. Take a look at this animal that Hannah created. Tell me in your chat box what animal this artwork makes you think of. It's not realistic, it's more abstract. Yeah, it does look like a puppy or a dog. Today we're going to create Picasso-inspired cubism creatures. So we've talked about cubism, and we're going to create some creatures, some animals. They will not be realistic. They'll be more from our imagination. They might resemble a particular animal, or maybe several animals. Let me show you how we're going to use the elements of art like line and shape. To create our cubism creatures, like this Picasso pet from Sarah Barclay, we need to first begin by drawing an eye. Then we're going to draw another eye. It can be larger or smaller. It can look like the other eye, or it can be a different eye. Then we're going to draw a nose. It might be a snout, might be an elephant trunk, or it might be from your imagination. Remember, this is not realistic. This is abstract. It's cubism. Step 4, we're going to draw the tail. Maybe it's a snake tail, maybe it's an alligator tail or an elephant tail. Step 5, we're going to give our creature some feet. Maybe they're paws or chicken feet or hoofs. Step 6, we're going to connect these shapes with a line. Remember, cubism uses lines and shapes. The 7th step is for us to add some ears if we would like ears on our creature. The 8th step is to make this look real Picasso-like by drawing a line from the nose up to the forehead. Maybe it's a zigzag line, maybe it's a curved line, or even a straight line. And the final step is to color your cubism creature. Now let's try making a cubism creature together. You can draw on your paper. Remember, start with pencil, or you can just follow along with me. You're going to have time later on to create your own creature. The first thing we need to do is think about the shapes and the lines that we're going to use. Remember, cubism uses the elements of shape and line, and we add color to create our cubism. So first we're going to start with drawing an eye. And I can do an eye with just a simple shape like a circle. Maybe I put another circle inside of it. I could do lines for eyelashes if I wanted. The second step is to draw another eye. Now this eye could look like the eye that we've already created, or we could create another eye. Remember, this is not a realistic drawing. This is abstract, and we're creating cubism creatures. The third step is to draw a nose. Maybe you decide to do a real abstract nose, something like this. Or maybe you want to do something more familiar, something maybe a little more recognizable. Like this. Again, we're mixing shapes and lines to create our cubism. The fourth step is to draw the tail. Maybe you want a tail that looks more like a reptile, or perhaps you want a tail that's a little more full, like a cat tail, maybe a fox tail, or maybe you simply want to just draw a line and create a tail like this. Step 4 is to add feet. Maybe you want to add some chicken feet, maybe a bird foot, or perhaps you want to draw some paws. We're combining shapes and lines to create our cubism creature. The next step is for us to connect these shapes with a line. It doesn't have to be straight lines. They can be curvy lines. It's whatever you imagine your creature to look like. Next, if you want your creature to have some ears, think about the type of ears that this creature might have, and go ahead and add the ears. Then we're going to use a straight line or a curvy line or a zigzag line to give this even more of a Picasso look by going from the nose up to the forehead. And then the last thing you would do is to color, add the element of color. So we have lines, we have shapes, and we would add color to create our cubism creature. Now let's try making a cubism creature together. You can draw on your paper. Remember, once you've created your cubism creature in pencil, you can come back in black marker and trace. Remember, when you're using pencil, we use it lightly, we draw lightly so that we can erase. When we come back with the Sharpie or the black marker, then we're going to make those lines stand out a whole lot more. You could have an adult trace the lines for you, or you could use a washable black marker and do it on your own. Or you could have the permission to use a Sharpie possibly. But make sure you get permission to use Sharpie and paints. When you decide to come back and color your creature, you can use crayons, you could use paints. Watercolors are great to use with these creatures. You could use color pencils. Any kind of color that you want to add. Remember, these cubism creatures are created with the elements of line and shapes. And we also want to add the element of color. So now it's time for you to try this on your own and create another creature. Remember, we develop skills through practice. So to create your own cubism creature, you're going to start off by using a pencil. You're going to draw one shape for an eye, draw another eye. It could be bigger, smaller. It could be above it, below it, beside it. It could be the same, or it could look completely different. Then you're going to draw a nose. It doesn't have to be where a nose is normally at, because this is not realistic. This is abstract. Step 4, you're going to draw a tail. Step 5, you're going to draw feet or paws if your creature has them. Step 6, you're going to draw a shape for the animal's body. Remember, your creature is not a realistic animal. Draw ears if you want them. Draw a straight, zigzag, wavy, or curvy line from the top of the nose to the top of the head. And then step 9, trace the lines and the shapes with a black marker and add another element, which is color. As you practice and use your creativity to create something new, think about the elements of art that we used or that you will be using to create your cubism creature. On your exit ticket, that's where you're going to put in the chat box your answer. Before you leave the session, make sure you go to your chat box and answer this question. Tell me at least one element of art you used or will use in your cubism artwork. This is going to stay up. And remember, I'm here to help you if you need any help today. And then also, don't forget, send me your artwork. I'd love to display it for our art show before our next lesson. I'm here if you need me. If not, see you next time.